healing means losing people, and that's okay. It's one of the hardest truths to accept, but also one of the most freeing. You don't have to hold on to everyone to prove you're loyal. Some connections expire naturally when you begin to value yourself more. Letting go isn't failure, it's growth. When you begin to heal, something subtle but powerful starts happening in your life. Your eyes open. You start to notice things you used to ignore earlier. You become more sensitive to the energy around you. How certain people make you feel drained. How some conversations leave you anxious or small, and how you've tolerated things for years that no longer sit right with your spirit. That friend who always brought drama? Suddenly, their presence feels heavy and uncomfortable. You begin to notice how every conversation circles back to their chaos and how they never really listen when you speak. The laughs don't hit the same anymore. The connection starts to feel like work. Not because you're better than them, but because you're different now. You're changing, and that friendship was built on a version of you that no longer exists. The family member who constantly criticizes your choices, you used to shrug it off or justify it, they're just worried about me or that's just how they are. But now, those comments cut deeper. Not because you're weaker, but because you're no longer numb to disrespect disguised as concern. You start realizing that love without respect isn't love, you need to keep close. So you pull back, not out of hate, but out of self-respect. And that romantic partner who never supported your dreams? Maybe they were kind, maybe they made you laugh, maybe they were comfortable. But now that you're healing, comfort isn't enough. You begin to crave depth, growth, and a shared vision. You want someone who helps you expand, not someone who holds you in place. And so, you face the painful truth. Staying might mean betraying yourself. Leaving might mean choosing yourself for the first time. But here's the part no one really talks about. These people, those friends, partners, or even family members, they aren't necessarily bad. Most of them were doing their best with what they knew. They were simply a match for the version of you that hadn't healed yet. When you were broken, you attracted broken energy. When you were insecure, you felt safest around people who kept you small because it was familiar. You weren't in a place to ask for more, and so you settled for less. Healing changes all of that. It raises your standards, not just in who you date, but in how you're treated, how you're spoken to, how you're loved, and how you're respected. Healing teaches you to say no without guilt, to set boundaries without shame, and to walk away without fear. It teaches you to stop apologizing for needing space, clarity, peace. And naturally, some people won't like that. Some will say you've changed, as if that's a bad thing. Some will accuse you of being distant, selfish, or cold. Some will try to guilt you into shrinking again, reminding you of the old you they were comfortable with. And it's tempting, in those moments, to shrink, to return to what's easy, to avoid conflict, to hold on to connections just because they've been around for a long time. But growth doesn't happen in comfort, and not everyone gets to walk with you to the next chapter. You have to understand, healing doesn't only add to your life, it subtracts too. It clears out the noise. It removes the distractions. It shows you who's genuinely supportive and who only loved the version of you that didn't love yourself. It's hard. It's lonely. There will be nights when you miss the people you outgrew. Moments when you scroll through old photos or hear a familiar song and feel a lump in your throat. That's normal. Grief comes with growth. But missing someone doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. It just means their chapter is over, and it mattered. Think of it like this. A caterpillar doesn't mourn the cocoon when it becomes a butterfly. It doesn't try to drag the cocoon into its new life. It simply spreads its wings and flies toward what's next, what's waiting, what fits. In the same way, you're not meant to carry everyone forward. Some people were only ever meant to walk a little bit of the path with you. They taught you, they helped shape you, and now their role is complete. And that's okay. Healing means giving yourself permission to outgrow people without guilt. It means choosing peace over people-pleasing. It means understanding that the people who truly belong in your life will either grow with you or respect your growth. They won't ask you to go backwards. They won't shame you for setting boundaries or needing space. They'll cheer for you even if it means cheering from afar. The more you heal, the more your relationships will shift. That's not a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that you're becoming more aligned with who you truly are. And as you become more authentic, your life naturally sheds anything that doesn't match that energy. You begin to attract connections rooted in mutual respect, not convenience. In truth, not pretense. In support, not control. Healing isn't selfish. It's necessary. And if it costs you a few relationships along the way, that doesn't mean you're losing. It means you're clearing space. Space for people who see you, hear you, and honor the person you're becoming. You are allowed to grow past the people who once felt like home. You are allowed to release what no longer supports your peace, and you are allowed to move forward without looking back every 5 steps. Because healing isn't about holding on tighter. It's about letting go with love, letting go of guilt, letting go of obligation, letting go of roles you no longer want to play. Some people will fade slowly, like the ending of a long conversation that doesn't need closure. Others will leave suddenly, unable to handle the new version of you. Either way, trust that what's leaving is meant to, and what remains, or arrives, will meet you on the level of your growth, not your pain. You're not too much for wanting peace. You're not heartless for wanting better. You're not wrong for choosing solitude over shallow connection. And you're certainly not broken for needing time alone to process it all. Healing is messy. It's emotional. It's sometimes isolating. But it's also the beginning of everything real. And one day, you'll look around and notice that your circle may be smaller, but your connections will be deeper. Your days may be quieter, but your heart will be lighter. Your path may feel unfamiliar, but your steps will be more sure. Because you'll no longer be walking for anyone else's approval. You'll be walking for your own peace. So, let yourself grow, even if it means letting go. And remember, losing people during your healing isn't a sign that something's gone wrong. It's proof that you're finally doing something right. If this message spoke to you, you're not alone, and you're not wrong for choosing peace. Healing is hard, but it's worth it. If you want more videos like this, filled with real talk and quiet strength, hit that subscribe button. Like, comment, and share if you know someone who needs to hear this today. Your growth matters. Keep going.